I want you to try a quick thought experiment with me.
Yeah.
Don't judge the thought. Okay, just observe it. Think about money. What's the very first feeling that comes up? Is it, a spark of excitement, possibility? Or is it maybe a tightening in your chest, a little twist of anxiety or fear, or even that weird mix of guilt and desire?
That feeling right there, that instant emotional response, that's probably the deepest insight you can get into your financial life.
Right, because we're taught it's all about logic.
We're taught it's math, it's spreadsheets, it's budgets. But the truth is your bank account is so much more than that. It's like a direct printout of your beliefs, your fears, and what psychologists call these invisible scripts that are running deep, deep beneath the surface.
And those invisible scripts are exactly what we're going to get into in this deep dive. Because, if money was just about math, we wouldn't see these paradoxes that trip so many people up. Like, why does one person earning a six-figure salary live paycheck to paycheck, completely stressed out, while someone else, maybe earning half that, is building real stability and just thriving?
And you have the classic puzzle, right? The lottery winner. They get millions, and then statistically, they're often broke just a few years later. It's not that they lacked money.
No.
They lacked the internal framework to handle it. It wasn't discipline they were missing. It was the money script, a set of completely unconscious beliefs that were programmed into their brain way, way back, long before they ever heard of the stock market.
And that programming, it happens through observation, right? And just the emotional atmosphere of your childhood.
Yeah.
It's the phrases you heard over and over, like money doesn't grow on trees, or the tension you felt when your parents argued about bills, maybe just the feeling that work meant, this endless struggle. Those moments created neural pathways that are still firing every single time you open your wallet.
Or send an invoice. They are the ghost in the machine.
So our mission today is pretty simple. We're going to dive deep into that programming. We want to help you identify those invisible forces so you can start getting genuine, lasting control. Until you understand the script, you're trying to change the destination while the GPS keeps routing you back to the same old place. Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with identity. A lot of the research in financial psychology, it points to these four primary money personalities. And these personalities influence every single decision you make, a lot of the time unconsciously. So as we go through these, maybe grab a piece of paper or just make a mental note. Which one of these sounds like you?
And these are powerful, really deep-rooted patterns. But the good news here is that they're not fixed. They're not a life sentence. But recognition, that's always the essential first step.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, the money avoider.
The avoider. This person feels a profound discomfort. Sometimes it's even like disgust around the whole topic of money.
So they think it's shallow.
Shallow, greedy, or even a moral failing. And this often comes from a childhood where they saw money, or maybe wealthy people, viewed with a lot of suspicion. So this personality, they really struggle with managing their finances, and often they engage in this kind of financial self-sabotage.
What does that sabotage actually look like? Because it's not always obvious, is it?
No, it's subtle. It's things like turning down a promotion because you tell yourself you don't want the stress of a bigger budget. Or it's chronically undercharging for your services because you feel fundamentally uncomfortable asserting your own value.
They just ignore it all.
They try. The avoider doesn't look at bills. They don't invest. They're essentially trying to spiritually reject money. And the massive irony, of course, is that by ignoring it, they guarantee they stay in that stressful state of scarcity they were trying to avoid in the first place.
Okay. Next up is the money worshiper. And I think this is a huge one in our society today.
Oh, absolutely. The worshiper believes that money is the ultimate answer. Money equals safety, it equals worth, it equals love. Their entire life is just structured around accumulation.
So they're the workaholics.
To the extreme. They work themselves to exhaustion. They often sacrifice their health, their family, their relationships, all for the sake of financial gain.
So on paper, they're successful. But in their heads, they're still acting like they're broke.
That's the trap. That is the psychological trap. No matter how much they have, they never, ever feel secure. There's always this deep, nagging sense of scarcity, and it's usually rooted in some kind of profound childhood insecurity.
So they're always chasing.
Always chasing the next goalpost, the next million, the next milestone. But they rarely, if ever, actually enjoy the money they have because they're just terrified of losing it all. They think comfort is just one more deal away.
Wow. Okay, then we have the money status seeker.
Right. The status seeker sees money almost exclusively as a tool for external validation, for respect, for identity.
It's all about what other people think.
100%. Their purchases are almost always designed to signal success to others. They might buy a car, a watch, or live somewhere they can't truly afford. Not because they love the thing, but because they believe it will change how others see them.
And that sounds like someone who grew up feeling, I don't know, less than.
That's often the root of it, yeah. They decided that success would finally prove they were worthy. But the trap here is, it's absolutely brutal. They are renting their self-esteem from other people's opinions, and that lease never, ever ends.
There's always someone with a bigger house.
Always. A better car, a more curated life online. They're trying to win a game that is fundamentally unwinnable.
And the last one, the money vigilant.
So the vigilant person is typically careful, responsible. They're the budgeters, the spreadsheet trackers, the people who know where every single dollar goes. And this often leads to a high degree of financial stability. They are the responsible savers.
But every strength has a shadow side, right? There's got to be one here.
There is, and the shadow side here is paralyzing anxiety. Their intense focus on tracking and saving, it often results in denying themselves reasonable pleasures. They feel crushing guilt about any non-essential purchase.
And they can't take risks.
Critically, yeah. An inability to take calculated risks. They might refuse to invest, even when the risk is minimal, because they're so hyper-focused on the possibility of loss that they sacrifice the probability of gain. They save for a rainy day, but they live in the permanent shadow of the storm.
The key, like you said, is just recognition. We're all probably a mix of these, but knowing your dominant pattern, that's a huge first step. So now that we've kind of identified the personalities, let's go back to where they come from. Let's talk about money memories. These are specific, highly emotional moments from your past that literally encoded how you act with money today. So when you're making a grown-up decision, like negotiating a salary, your brain is referencing these old feelings, whether you realize it or not.
And this is where we see the power of that emotional encoding. I mean, these memories aren't just data points. They're all tangled up with feelings of stress or rejection or love.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, take a really common one. A kid asks a parent for a toy in a store. The parent, maybe they're stressed about credit card debt. Maybe they're worried about losing their job. They just snap. They say, "We can't afford it. Stop asking. You're driving me crazy."
And the parent is just having a bad day. They're stressed. But what is the 7-year-old's brain encoding in that moment?
Well, that kid is encoding 3 really powerful, invisible scripts. 1, my desires are a burden to the people I love. 2, asking for what I want leads to rejection and conflict. And 3, money causes pain.
Wow.
So you fast forward 20 years, and that same person, now an adult, they struggle to send an invoice. They feel physically sick asking for a raise. They might even just give their work away for free. They're not thinking about being 7 years old in a toy store. They're just acting on that embedded fear of being a burden.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Or you can think about the opposite pattern. Maybe the child who watched their parents work endless double shifts, always struggling, never quite getting ahead.
Right, and that translates into an adult belief that life must be a struggle, that money is inherently scarce. So as an adult, that person might feel deeply guilty taking a vacation because they think rest is laziness.
Yeah.
Or they swing the other way entirely. They rebel against all that stress by rejecting financial planning altogether. They just prioritize immediate pleasure over any kind of stability.
And the invisibility of these scripts is exactly why they're so powerful.
That's it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because to break that cycle, we need to understand the sort of psychological filter you're using to see the world.
Yes. We absolutely have to talk about the foundational framework here. The scarcity mindset versus the abundance mindset. And this isn't some, self-help cliche. This is about how your brain actually processes resources and opportunity.
And the scarcity mindset is rooted in fear and limitation.
And it's physiologically destructive. When you operate from scarcity, you see the world as a zero-sum game. There just isn't enough success or opportunities or money to go around. And this creates what researchers call tunneling.
Tunneling? What does that mean?
It means your attention just narrows. It narrows exclusively to what you lack and the potential for loss.
It's not just stressful, it actually hurts your brain.
It reduces your literal processing power. I mean, studies show that when people are focused on a feeling of lack, Their cognitive bandwidth decreases. They make worse decisions. They struggle with long-term planning. They get completely consumed by short-term survival. They can't see the forest for the trees because they are terrified of losing the one twig they're holding.
Which leads to those behaviors we see, right? Hoarding money, being too afraid to invest, or just avoiding looking at your bank account because the anxiety is too much.
And making those erratic feast or famine purchases. And crucially, they resent other people's success because in their zero-sum world, someone else's win feels like their personal loss.
Okay, so let's contrast that with the abundance mindset.
The abundance mindset is rooted in possibility and sufficiency. It sees money, resources, opportunity as flowing, as generative. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about operating from a place where you believe growth and expansion are possible.
So when other people succeed,
You feel inspired because their success expands the realm of what you believe is possible for yourself.
and the decisions coming from that place are just, they're fundamentally different.
Completely different. People with an abundance mindset, they invest in themselves, they buy courses, they find mentors, they learn new skills. They see it as planting seeds for future growth, not as money lost. They negotiate confidently because they believe in the value they provide. And that mindset becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they're calm enough to spot opportunities that the anxious, tunnel-visioned person misses completely.
And we can't talk about scarcity and this need for validation without talking about the huge accelerant in our modern life, the comparison trap.
Oh, yeah. Social media has taken our innate human status instinct and just weaponized it. You're carrying around a highlight reel of thousands of other lives in your pocket all day long. It's designed to trigger feelings of inadequacy.
And the financial danger is spending money to close the gap, right?
Yeah.
To try and buy your way to a validation that isn't even real.
It's a financial sinkhole. You're competing in a race with no finish line against a curated reality. You don't know that the person posting the perfect vacation photo went deep into debt for it. The only antidote is getting crystal clear on your personal values, your own definition of what's enough.
When you have that internal compass,
You stop bleeding money on things that are only designed to impress strangers.
this clarity, it brings us to maybe the deepest psychological truth in this whole conversation. The undeniable link between your self-worth and your net worth. For most of us, if you don't believe you're worthy of wealth, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself every single time you start to build it. And this is the mechanism we call the income thermostat.
The income thermostat. It's rooted in your brain's powerful drive for consistency. Your brain wants to keep your internal identity and your external reality aligned. So if your core identity is, I'm bad with money, or I don't deserve that kind of success, your actions will find a way to align with that belief.
So your wealth just plateaus. The moment money starts coming in, the brain panics and finds a way to get rid of it just to stay consistent with that old story.
Precisely. You'll tolerate being underpaid, you'll struggle to negotiate, you'll plateau your income because beyond that internal ceiling, wealth starts to feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous or just wrong. So you make mistakes, a bad investment, you undercharge a client to bring your external results back in line with your internal identity.
It's that cycle of self-sabotage. And it's why so often improving your finances really means improving your relationship with yourself first.
And this leads us right to the biggest leakage point for most people, our spending habits. We love to think we're logical consumers, but the research is overwhelming. Our spending is driven by emotions we are trying to feel or maybe trying to avoid. This is the emotional spending trap.
We're not buying the thing, we're buying the feeling.
Exactly. When you're bored, what do you buy? Maybe a subscription service, little online purchases for a quick ping of excitement. When you're stressed, you buy convenience, expensive takeout, rapid delivery. Marketers sell identity, escape, soothing. That luxury car isn't sold as transportation, it's sold as power and respect.
And that cycle is just vicious. You feel bad, you spend for a temporary dopamine hit, the feeling fades, then the guilt about the purchase sets in, and you spend again to fill that new void.
Yeah, and the way out isn't just willpower, that's a finite resource. It's awareness.
Right.
When you feel that urge to buy, you have to interrupt the pattern. Pause, just for 60 seconds, and ask yourself 2 questions. What am I truly feeling right now? And what need am I trying to meet?
So if you realize you're just lonely,
The purchase won't fix it. The real solution is to address the need. Call a friend, take a walk, meditate. You have to deal with the root emotion to stop pouring money into the symptom.
So moving toward change means we have to tackle this internal resistance, and maybe the biggest hurdle for people is the struggle for delayed gratification, the adult marshmallow test.
We are fighting millions of years of evolution here. Our limbic system, that ancient emotional part of the brain, it is hardwired for immediate reward and survival. The prefrontal cortex, which handles long-term planning, it's always losing that battle unless we actively help it out.
So how do you make the future feel real enough to compete with that temptation right now?
You have to give your future self an emotional presence. Saving for retirement in 40 years, that's too abstract. But if you visualize your secure 65-year-old self, what are they doing? How calm do they feel? That future becomes real. It becomes emotionally compelling.
And practically speaking.
You build friction for the impulse. Delete your stored card info from shopping sites. Implement a mandatory 48-hour waiting period for any big purchase. Just make it harder to spend than it is to save.
And we also have to talk about the silent killer of financial stability, which is money, shame, and secrecy.
Oh, this is huge. Shame is that feeling that there's something fundamentally wrong with you because of your financial situation. And shame operates in darkness. That secrecy is incredibly expensive because it stops you from getting help.
So if you're too ashamed to admit you have debt,
You can't negotiate with creditors. If you're too ashamed of your income, you can't ask for the raise you deserve.
you're just wasting all this energy hiding the problem instead of solving it.
Exactly. And to break the cycle of shame, you need three things. First is honesty. You have to face the numbers no matter how scary they are. Second, perspective. You have to understand your financial situation is a circumstance, not your identity. You are not a mess. You are a person with a debt problem that can be solved. And third, community. Finding a safe, non-judgmental space to talk about money.
Which leads us to what feels like the ultimate solution for rewriting these scripts. What we call the identity shift. The idea that we don't really change our behavior through goals. We change it by shifting our identity.
That's it. If your identity is still, I'm bad with money, then setting a goal to save $10,000 is probably going to fail. Your internal sense of self will just override the goal. The real transformation happens when you commit to becoming the kind of person who saves money, the kind of person who makes intentional financial decisions.
And that's not a switch you just flip. It's about casting votes for that new identity.
That is the mechanism. Every time you act in line with the identity you want, no matter how small that action is, you cast a vote for the new you.
So transferring $5 to savings.
That's a vote. Resisting an impulse buy?
Yeah.
That's a vote. Researching market rates for your work? That's a vote. The size doesn't matter nearly as much as the consistency. And over time, these small votes, they compound until the new behavior becomes automatic because you have enough evidence to prove to yourself that this is who you are now.
So what does this all mean? The central truth here really is that your mind is the gateway to your wealth. Your financial struggles are almost always because you're operating with programming that was installed without your consent. You're not broken. You just need to update the operating system.
And as you start to do that, you have to expect resistance. It might come as internal fear, your brain resisting the change, or it could be external pushback from friends or family who feel threatened by your growth. You might also experience something psychologists call an extinction burst.
An extinction burst.
It's when an old destructive pattern temporarily gets worse right before it finally disappears. It's the last gasp of the old habit.
That's so important to recognize. Because if you hit that wall and think, oh, I'm failing, you'll stop. But if you see it as an extinction burst, you know you're actually close to a breakthrough. This isn't a straight line. Progress is about direction, not perfection. To help you get started today, we want to leave you with 3 high-impact action steps to begin casting those votes for your new identity. First, reflect on your money story. Take 15 minutes today, just write down your earliest money memories. What did you hear your parents say about money? What patterns do you see yourself repeating? No judgment, just observe the scripts.
Second, practice identity voting. Choose one small, consistent action that aligns with the financial identity you want. For example, I am someone who saves intentionally. And then prove it with a tiny daily action, like transferring $5 to a savings account. Just try it for 7 days.
And third, maybe the most impactful right away, is to address emotional spending. The next time you feel that urge to buy something, just institute that 60-second pause. Identify the emotion stress, loneliness, boredom, and the real need underneath it. Then try to address that need directly with a non-monetary action. If you're bored, plan a free activity instead of scrolling Amazon.
And we'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Money is a neutral tool. That's all it is. It's an amplifier of who you already are. If you're a generous person, money just amplifies your generosity. If you're an anxious person, it amplifies your anxiety. So the work isn't really about getting money. The work is about becoming the kind of person-wise, honest, emotionally stable, so that when wealth comes, you are fundamentally capable of using that tool skillfully in service of the life you truly want to create.